What's up guys, Alpine Gremlin again here with some more World of Tanks. No gameplay today, but I said I wanted to do another tip video, mostly because I've been getting several questions asking me, Alpine, which vehicle should I research next? I am at this tank right here, and I've got these options to go and research into next. Well, that's a difficult question to answer, and you can't really answer it without knowing what your playstyle is and what type of tank you're looking for and what tank you're going to end up with if you research into this vehicle as opposed to this other vehicle. Do you want something like this T-29, slow, a little bit lumbering, but pretty good armor and a good gun? Do you want something very slow but powerful like the Jagdpanzer 100, but susceptible to flank fire? Do you want something swift and light but little armor and a low, not very damaging gun but high rounds per minute like the T-62A or the T-54 medium tanks? Or do you want to be a breakthrough tank like an IS-7? Or do you want to be a quick and light tank destroyer like this ACMLE 48? There's a lot of different options. And there's a tank in this game that honestly suits everyone. Do you want to be a quick and fast scout like the T-50 or the T-50-2? Which, by the way, 8.7 is coming, the update, which will soon be replaced by a new Soviet light tank, the MT-25. But that's for another video. So it's really up to your playstyle as to what you want to research next. But I think it's time I did a video like this. So you can't really decide what you can't make an educated guess as to what you want to research next before looking at the tech tree. Obviously, when you start at the game, when you first boot up World of Tanks and you first join the game, you're going to have 5 vehicles in your garage. You're going to have the T1 Cunningham, you're going to have the Mark 1 Vickers Medium of the British, the Leichtraktor of the Germans, the FT-17 Renault of France, the MS-1 for Soviet Union, and the NC-31 Renault for the Chinese. And whichever vehicle you go into, you need to look at the tech tree, because obviously when you're at tier 1, you're going to have 4 vehicles to research into. So, like from the T1 Cunningham, you've got the T2 Medium, the M2 Light Tank, the T18, and the T57 Heavy. And if you go out into the main research tree, you can see that they all branch off into other vehicles, which will all suit different playstyles. So, let's say you're at the T1 and you research into the T2 Medium Tank. T2 Medium Tank will lead to the M2 Medium Tank, will go into the M3 Lee, and the M3 Lee is an important link in the chain because this decides whether you research into the M4 Sherman or the T1 Heavy Tank. And you can see at this crucial junction, the M4 leads to the M4 E2 Sherman or the EZ8 Sherman. The EZ8 Sherman takes you down the medium line. The E2 takes you into the medium line or into the heavy line. And if you just went to the T1 Heavy, you would continue down the heavy line, which is what I'm grinding now. I have a T29, which will eventually take me to the end, the T110 E5. So you need to look at the end of the line. You need to see where this vehicle, let's say you have an M4 Sherman, and you want to decide whether or not you want to get the E2 or the EZ8. These two tanks, they're both Shermans, but they both play incredibly different. The E2 is slower, they use the same gun, but the E2 is slower and has a lot better hull armor. And the E2 leads into the T29, or you could continue on to the T20. If you go back and you decide to pick the EZ8 Sherman, which is way more mobile, but it has a lot weaker armor, that will take you either into the tank destroyers into the Jackson, which will lead into an entirely new line in general, the tank destroyers, or you can continue into the T20, which will eventually take you all the way to the M48 Patton, a medium tank. So You need to ask yourself what kind of tank fits your playstyle the best. Because that's the thing. When you ask yourself, what do I want to research next, you want to see, does this tank suit my playstyle? And does it lead to tanks that suit my playstyle? So, being a medium tanker, I would generally favor the Easy 8 unless I wanted to just try something new. Like if I wanted to go to the Jumbo, and you can see here, I could still go back to the medium line if I didn't want to continue on to the heavies. It's the same thing with things like, there's a lot of the Soviets. The Soviets have an interesting tech tree. Let's say you're going down the T-26, the T-46, the T-28, KV-1, and let's say you research into the 1S. Well, the 1S leads to the KV-13 to the IS. The IS goes into the heavy assault Soviet tanks, which eventually ends up with the IS-7. Or you can go to the KV-13, which leads also into the IS, or the T-46, T-43, T-44. Now you're in Soviet medium tanks. So you need to know what your playstyle is, and you need to know what kind of vehicle you would enjoy playing. Because I'm more of a medium tanker, I would generally always go for the lighter, more mobile tanks that have more damage per minute and can get around faster. But maybe you're not like me. Maybe you like the slow, lumbering beasts, and you like having the very tough armor. In which case, you would want to research from the KV-1. You might want to go to the T-150, which will lead you to the heavily armored KVs, eventually leading to the IS-4, with 140 millimeters of angled hull armor and 250 millimeters of turret armor. Maybe you're an artillery player, and maybe you forgot to go down the artillery line at the beginning. Maybe now you're stuck here. Well, don't fear. From the KV-1, you can research into the KV-2, and the KV-2 will take you to the S-51, which now you're in the artillery line. Maybe you're a tank destroyer, It's all about picking what vehicle you want to research into next, and you want to pick that vehicle based on what your playstyle is, especially for your first time. And when you're new to the game, you want to figure out what your playstyle is as quickly as possible, because you don't want to be stuck grinding out 7 different lines and you find, well, I don't like this line, I don't like this one, because you wasted a lot of potential. The best way to get to the higher tier vehicles quickest is to pick something and stick with it. Make sure you know what your playstyle is. And that's important, and that's what a lot of players, when they're new to the game, don't do. Because they're so eager, they want to check out all these vehicles, and they get up to tier 6 or 7, and they're like, well, crap, I don't like this. Now they have to start over from somewhere else. So it's important, especially if you're new, to look at your options, look at your tech trees, look at what the higher tier vehicles entail. It's like the Soviet tank destroyers. From the Su-100, you can go to the Su-152 or the Su-100M1. Su-152 leads to the more heavily armored, heavier guns, but slower tank destroyers, and the Su-100M1 leads to the more lightly armored, more mobile, but lighter gun tank destroyers. So it's all a matter of your personal preference. What do you like to play as? What vehicles would suit you the best? So that's what I wanted to say. Pick your grind based on what vehicle you want to go for next, what vehicle you want to end up with, and what you're going to enjoy the game most playing, and whatever vehicle you can contribute most to your team. So that's really all I have for now, guys. I hope this helped, and I hope this clears up some of the questions as to what should I research next, because honestly, I don't know you guys, and if somebody came up to me and asked me that, which a lot of people do, I always tell them the same thing. I always ask them, what's your playstyle? So answer the question for yourself and ask yourself, what do I like to play as? What vehicle suits me the most? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Look for more gameplay coming up soon.